Okay, so this video is about egg donation. If you don't know what that is, that's when like a woman has to donate eggs from her ovaries to another woman that either does not have good eggs or doesn't produce them or has some kind of health issue with her women parts. I learned about egg donation through a friend that I worked with, and people do it for the money. I mean, of course, like the goodwill, I guess, too, of helping somebody have a family, or just to make yourself feel better that you're helping someone to make a family while making money. And then at the time, she told me how much it was, and it was a lot of money. So I figured, like, why not? It seems easy. It's like a couple-month process at the most. So I figured I would go research it and then give it a try. And I did give it a try 5 times. So I'll tell you all about that. So when I was researching it, because I wanted to see exactly what it was and like how it's going to affect me, there's not a lot of data on it, and it seems that they're not really doing any studies. So sometimes you have to like go far and dig. Here's like a little video I am going to show you of me, like when you open up like the main Google screen and you look, it right away will say like, I mean, of course, like cancer risks or infertility, but then when you go any further or click on it, it says this is not true. It won't cause infertility. It won't cause cancer. And then those links all lead to like websites of egg donation places, like the centers for it. So it was hard to find any, problems with donating. But all right, so after I did research on it and I decided that I wanted to go through with it, I contacted the agency that my friend used for egg donation. And I just want to say that like nowhere in the contract that I do have with them am I not allowed to state anything that's in this video. But that's also a reason I'm not going to list the company. So first things you do is you fill out an application through the agency. They're going to ask you like your family history, medical, psychological, like did your family suffer from like schizophrenia, anything in like, the genetic lines. They're going to ask your health. Let's see what else. They want to know your personality traits. They ask you for your school records, your grades, how far you are in your schooling. Are you in college? Did you finish? What GPA do you have? What sports did you play or are you playing? Like all of that. And a lot of it will be in your profile. You have to send like verification of it. Like they wanted me to send my records, and I sent almost everything. And I do remember though that I did not send in a few things, and they kind of just took my word for it, or they forgot that I did not send it in. Now I didn't lie on mine because I had intended to send in all the records. I had it all in front of me, but it was not verified. So some of the things that weren't verified was my, let's see, what was it? My family's medical history. You can't do anything with that because that's not, you're not allowed to, get their data on that. So I guess you could lie about that and say they don't have any big health issues, which looks good and makes you a better candidate for them. I did not send in my GPA. So they ask you to send in 10 pictures of yourself. I think, what do they ask for? Like a headshot, full body shot, clear pictures. That I never actually met in person anyone from this agency. Through all 5 of my donations, getting paid out, through everything, I've never stepped foot inside the agency. I've never had a FaceTime call with them. I mean, we did regular phone calls, but I just thought that was weird. But I guess they can verify your identity because at the doctor's office they ask for your ID. But I mean, I suppose if someone looks similar to you, they can go in and act as you. I don't know who they are. I only know what they look like through like stalking the website and looking up their Facebooks. Okay, so once you're accepted, they set up a profile for you to where the intended parents can choose you. They pick you out of all like the people that are in there. It doesn't say your real name. All it has is, well, here, let me just show you my picture. That's what mine is. And then all you see is my nationality, hair color, eye color, hobbies. It does say the blood type, but nothing that could identify like where you live really, unless there's something in the background of your photo, which a lot of people these days, it's easy to figure out anything from like a photo or video. But most of these donations are closed to where you're not going to know who they are at all. A lot of them do not want open donations to where the kid could potentially meet you later on, or the parents are going to meet you, and they don't even like to tell the agency if they had a live birth from this. That happened to a few of my donations. They did not want the agency to know. There was a lot of girls on there on the website at any given time that I would go and check, and it does say if they've donated before. Like mine, you see, says donated 3 times, so at the point that's how many I did donate. And I feel like that makes someone feel more confident in it, that they did donate before, so they know it went through, they didn't back out, and it's happened. So that would be like a security blanket for them. So the parents a lot of times pick someone that looks like them. And when I went on to like Reddit forums, a lot of them look for someone that they think has the desired traits they want their child to have. Some people, they might not get picked. Like if you're trying to donate your eggs, there's a chance that someone is not going to choose you. And it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you. It just, like I said, maybe you just don't have the traits that they have, so the kid would look similar to them, or just not what they're looking for whatever reason. So it's not a guaranteed thing that you're going to be able to do this and get paid. For my profile, I got picked pretty quick for them. And like I said, once it shows I donated, it probably helps speed things up too for other times that I did get picked, because they've seen that I successfully donated. I had a lot of offers, but some I refused. There was like the local ones I've done, which was in Chicago, but there was offers across the US. One of them I almost said yes to was California. It was gonna be like a free vacation. They pay for everything, like your incidentals, rental car, flight, hotel, everything. But I feel like if anything were to go wrong, I want to be home around family and friends and stuff, just in case, because of course, like during the procedure, anything can go wrong, or even from like taking the hormones or injections. So I'd rather pass on that. And then other times I just was busy with school, or just not in the mood to do injections in my stomach every night, and to make appointments at 7 a.m. and take like a long drive just to get there. And then you have to be in constant contact with the agency and the doctors. You can't miss like communication. They're mad if you miss like one phone call and don't get back within hours. I mean, I understand, because time is of the essence of it, but I'm just saying you have to be able to answer them back like right away. This is all timed with like the woman and her body and ovulation, all that. Reese, can I finish my video? Is it okay if I finish my video? Or are you busy? Because once I start, are you going to start crying? So once you're picked, there's like donor screening that you do go through. The first one I'll go over is the psychological screening, and this is where the parents will have to pay for a psychologist or a social worker to call you and have like a phone interview for like an hour long, and they just need to make sure that you're fit to donate. You know, are you going to be okay that you may never be able to meet this kid? Are you suicidal? Are you hooked on drugs? Why are you doing this? Are you being forced to do this? They have to go through all that. And then also, there is, it's called the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. So you have to do this. They kind of want you to fill it out before you have the phone call. Let's see, there's like almost 600 questions on here. A lot of them are repetitive and just in different wording. So this test that I took, it did take a while to fill it out. And I mean, it just asks like really, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it serves too much of a purpose. But then the more I think about it, I guess it does, because if, you know, the therapist is going over the answers, you know, these simple questions can get to like deeper, you know, thoughts or whatever. Like, let me get an example. Something as simple as, I would like to be a soldier. It says true or false. Now you think like, what does that matter? Okay, so it does, because someone says true, and she'll be like, why? Why do you want to be a soldier? And they'll give their reasons. Some might be to escape something. Some might be because they want to fight for the country, or whatever the reasoning is. It just goes farther than like these surface level questions. If it is a good therapist talking to you, they won't just do this inventory and be like, okay, yeah, you're good. And there's like the medical screening. It's like the pap smear you'd get like at a normal gyno exam, STD testing, urine analysis, they do blood screening, and the blood screening and stuff checks for like genetic markers in case like if there's two parents that had the markers, and that would create, you know, a genetic disorder, like a higher probability in a child. You know, the intended parent would want to know, especially if they're a carrier of it. Now, I did genetic testing. Not all the parents do this. A lot of them still want the kid regardless of whatever is going to be the cause. It's a really expensive test that I'm told, but I did take it. It shows what percentage it would be for me to have a child, or well, for one of my eggs to be carrying this genetic marker. Then the doctor does like a vaginal ultrasound, you know, sticks the wand up there and checks your ovaries to check your egg, like your follicles, to see, you know, if it's a good quality. So the testing for these, the psychological exam, the medical, all those take about a month long. And it's not because it's a lot of appointments, it's just for them fitting you in for an appointment. You know, they have to make sure the psychologist is available, the doctor, because a lot of those offices are extremely busy. But it's not a long process at all, and it goes by pretty quickly. And I think it's really cool to see, like when I did the genetic testing, it was interesting to see what or if I did carry any, you know, genetic disorders. The problem with knowing if I carried any genetic disorders would be me going down a rabbit hole, like looking at all of them, even if I wasn't carrier. I'm like, oh, let me see this. I've never heard of that disorder. And I just kept going through the list, just curious, you know, and then you end up on YouTube to see what the child may look like with that disorder, or like life expectancy. So I could see why some parents would not want to do that to their mind and just go crazy thinking about all that stuff. This donation is called a cycle. They line up your ovulation time with the mother that they're going to be, you know, donating the eggs to. So they do this through birth control. They start you and then they stop you at a certain time, and then, you know, do the trigger injection to stimulate ovulation right when hers is. So that takes like a few weeks to line up with the intended mother. So it's really important that you're not missing birth control or taking it at a different time each day, or you can mess up the whole cycle. So once it's lined up, you start doing injections. I believe it lasts like 8 days. I don't remember. It's been like years since I donated. So I'm saying 8 days. You do injections every night. They send a link for a video on how to do injections. I mean, I'm scared of not scared of them, but I think the pain's going to be worse than what it is, or just a really annoying pain. So at first it was hard for me, but then I just started getting quick at it and just jabbing it in and just being done with it. It doesn't hurt too much, I guess, if you hit the right spot, but I did it in my stomach. Even though there's not a lot of fat there, it just seemed to hurt the least amount. I just want to say that they rely heavily on this donor really following through with these shots and, you know, the birth control, all that, like on time. Because like I said, if that donor doesn't, or they miss it by a few hours, that could ruin the whole cycle. And just think about how much money these parents are putting out for this donation that might not even be a successful transfer, resulting in like a live birth. So I took it really serious, and I hope that anyone that does donate does take it serious. Like set alarm reminders, you know, leave notes around or whatever. When you're towards the end, the doctor is going to see if you're like sufficiently stimulated, and then you're given your trigger injection of HCG. And then right when you're given that injection, the retrieval has to happen exactly 36 hours after you're given that trigger shot. So when you're showing up on the day for your retrieval, it cannot be a half hour off. It has to be there. That's why they want you to arrive at the clinic where you're retrieving it hours before. So for this process, you are put to sleep. They give you anesthesia, and they put you under for about 45 minutes. They stick a long needle up there. I mean, you can watch a video on, I don't know, they pull out the eggs they need, and you wake up. You're going to feel like kind of out of it, of course, from anesthesia, if you've ever been put under before. And I woke up on one of my donations, and I guess the hormones had been too much for me, and I overproduced eggs, which is a good thing for the intended parents because they got a lot more eggs and they were good quality, but it was bad for me because I got, it's called like OHSS, ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. I mean, it could be very severe for some people, but mine wasn't too severe, but it was pretty bad. I was in a lot of pain. My stomach became like really bloated and in pain, so they gave me a medicine that cleared it up within like a day and a half or two. So that was kind of scary because it could lead into bigger problems. Also, after the retrieval, it just feels like a period, like where you're bloating, hurting, like things like that, like cramping. It doesn't feel like a major surgery. When you are taking the hormones, giving yourself injections, you can't work out during that time, because if you do, your ovaries are enlarged right now. It could twist and then kill off the ovary, and then you lose your chance at being able to have kids if you had planned on it. Also, after the retrieval, they say don't have sex for like a certain amount of time. I don't remember, because you're extremely fertile, especially with all those hormones, and you're at risk for twins and triplets if you do happen to get pregnant around that time. Okay, so of course, compensation was like a main reason that I did this. So what was the compensation? This was years ago. I don't remember how long, maybe like 7, 8 years ago. At the time, the going rate was $7,500 for your first donation. And that's because they need to see how you responded, like during the retrieval, how many eggs they got, how your follicles were, all that. And then the next rounds, they would usually give like $8,500. I got offered $10,000 for the subsequent rounds because I had a lot of eggs and good quality, my follicles, everything. So I made about $50,000, honestly, or more than that, through the 5 donations. And the things they pay for your gas, tolls. It's like a certain stipend for food each day. If you're traveling, you get hotel pay, rental car, all of that. There is legal contracts, that you do go through. The parents have to pay for it. The lawyer for you, they call you, go over all these contracts, you have to sign it. And the contracts do state that you, especially if it's a closed donation, that you cannot try to find out who the parents are, and you will not be in their life. You are given the father's birth date though, because later on in life, they don't want you to, if you have a kid and they meet that kid, it would be like an incestuous relationship, and that causes a lot of deformities, when their child would be born. So they give you the father's birth date. But I just never understood how that would really help, because you're not going to ask like your child, like say they're getting married or having a kid, you're not going to be like, oh, what's their dad's birthday? They do tell you can back out. It is your right to do it. There's like a lot in the legal contract. I'm not going to go over all that, but that'll be between you and the agency. But it is pretty thorough. With all that compensation, I'd probably say I made maybe closer to 55, 60,000 during all that. Nowadays, I looked up the agencies. Even this one, they are paying more money. It's 15,000, it looks like, as a going rate to donate, which I mean is in line with how inflation is nowadays. So there are risks. Hormones could put you at further risks for, cancer or like long-term problems down the road, not being able to have kids, like fertility issues. I have like this secret group that I follow that's really hard to get in. It's for donors, and I'm not going to say it because it took a lot just to be accepted, approved into this group. I had to do like a lot of proving that I'm a donor and I'm not like spying in the group or whatever from an agency, which is kind of weird, but I guess it happened a lot. And they would talk about, there's thousands of people in there, any health problems they had, if they had kids after. So a lot of them did have go on to have kids after. I mean, I did, but there was a few that had issues, but who knows if they would have already had issues. They might have, even if they had good eggs and follicles, they might have had issues having kids. So you don't know if that's correlated, but I really think there needs to be like more long-term research. I even tried to look up any like studies that I could be a part of, since I am a donor, that they would follow, my, journey after the egg donations, but there's none. There's usually, you can look on the government website if they have any ongoing studies for this, and they don't right now. I don't want to just recommend it blindly. If you really need money and you want to feel good and do something to help someone out, then go ahead and do it. It's like a really unique experience to go through. It's annoying getting up that early, going to the appointments, and sticking yourself with a needle. But besides that, it wasn't bad. I don't know, it's kind of draining in a way. that whole process. I want to say there are closed donations, but now with like DNA registry websites, it's gonna, take away that anonymity, because people are going on there, putting in their DNA, and then you see your bloodline and you find out if you do have a kid down the road, in like 18 years, you'll know, and they'll be able to contact you or you them. So I don't know how that's going to work with the parents that didn't want that to happen. They don't want the donor in their kid's life. I think it's really neat that there is kids out there that are my DNA, but that's as far as it goes. Now, the 5th time I donated, though, it did not go to parents. It went to, the agency was starting their own egg bank. If you have any questions or anything, like as a parent trying to use donor eggs or someone that wants to donate, just ask me in the comments. And just think, through donation, I have more of these out there that I don't even know about.